That's how you're meant to set up cloud security, by the way, which clearly Ubiquiti don't know how to do. Well, I am saying this because I don't trust Ubiquiti right now. That's exactly what I'm saying. That is programmer speak for, we'll get around to fixing it. Hey, thanks for joining me. Are you using Ubiquiti? Do you want to? Well, I'm going to try and cover those two questions today. Let's get into it. So, hopefully you haven't been living under a rock and you are aware of what's going on at Ubiquiti. For those that are not, Ubiquiti had a data breach back in January of 2021, and they said, hey everybody, reset your passwords and then set a two-factor authentication, set a two-factor up. So whether that's Google Auth or text or something similar, Authy, there's a bunch of them. If you haven't done those things and you have Ubiquiti gear, go do that now, go change your password and go set up two-factor. Pause the video and come back, I'll still be here. Cool, done, great. Okay, so that happened. Security breaches happen all the time. Not a big deal. Well, it is a big deal. It's not if it'll happen, it's when it will happen. Welcome to technology. What is bad from how Ubiquiti has handled this is that they said a data breach happened, told everyone, great. Brought in an independent security firm, which is fairly standard. They found some issues for them, but they didn't tell us, and they were severe enough where the company that did it thankfully had a good enough citizen to whistleblow on them and say like, hey, you're not telling the world how bad this is. So how bad is it? Well, all access tokens and all user credentials could have been taken, probably have been. And the base had access to their entire system, including things like source code. So what does that mean for you now, if you are using Ubiquiti right now? That means go away and turn off Cloud Connect. Disconnect your devices from their cloud. Unfortunately, that means the UISP or UNMS, for the people, the older people, they're not secure and they're not trustworthy. And the reason I'm saying that is not that, well, I am saying this because I don't trust Ubiquiti right now. That's exactly what I'm saying. And that's because generally when the security breach happens, you own up to it. And that's what a good company does. They say, hey, we screwed up. Talk about Equifax, right? You know, it had to come out that they had a big data leak. But, you know, they told us about it and they're a bit more forthcoming about it. Whereas Ubiquiti said, it's fine, don't worry about it. Reality, it's not fine. They haven't told us what happened or how it happened, and they can't tell us how it happened because they didn't have enough logging enabled on their service. So right now you're asking me, and also or anyone else out there, and I'm a software engineer, so I've been doing this for nearly 2 decades, to say a company said, hey, don't worry about it. That is programmer speak for, we'll get around to fixing it when we can be bothered and we can bother to actually prioritize it. Not the only company to do that. There's a couple in the UK. I'm not going to name and shame, but there's a few. So that's just the nature of the game. So it's that callous attitude which says to me, you need to just not talk to their cloud or not trust any of their hosted solutions right now. I'm gonna try and reel this back into the actual question I had for myself. Or you, or someone else that's probably in my situation. Should you chuck your Ubiquiti gear in the trash and start again? No, is the short answer. The reality is it depends. I'll start with the no part. The no part is that there is no one else that has that. There's no easy swap over for you right now. But the no part also depends on how big are you and what are you using it for. Should you get rid of your gear? Ish. The very minimum, if you're using Ubiquiti gear right now, is disable any form of remote access. Make sure your firewall is on and then only let through what it needs to be. Even better, set up a VPN and connect to it if you need to have a remote access. That is the securest way you can do it because you don't have anything exposed apart from one port through to your VPN. That's how you're meant to set up cloud security, by the way, which clearly Ubiquiti don't know how to do. Maybe that's the reason why VPN support on their gear is so poor. Another topic for another day. But what I would say, if you're a large owner of devices, bigger than a school would probably be my gauge for that, is how privacy and security sensitive are you? Because some of their devices, they had access to their source code. So if there is exploits out there and you have to enable some form of remote access, it's going to be a while before we know that those patches have been patched. And until Ubiquiti tell us they know what they are and they fixed them, or they're just forthcoming about what they're going to do about it to put our minds at ease. If as a large organization, I cannot willingly say to my, especially if you're providing it to a client, you want to say like, oh yeah, the company that makes your gear got hacked, don't worry about it. There's a reason why people don't trust Microsoft as much as they say trust Apple software. Reality is, they're about the software engineering and they crash just as much with each other. But Microsoft has had much more security exploits and they were in the day bad at fixing them. Apple generally had less. So we're in this situation right now where you're saying, are you going to provide an unsecured laptop to an organization, to an employee, or do you want to have one that you know is working? And that's a very difficult thing because obviously Ubiquiti is much more accessible to everyone based on the price point, that you might have some really tricky conversations with these larger organizations that we're now going to have to 2x or 4x your networking gear. My takeaway from this is, as I'll try and just make it summarize, it's like, no, you can hold onto your gear, it's fine, disable remote access. If you're a larger organization, you need to start looking about what you're going to be doing long term now. But what about the other part of that? It's 2021, Ubiquiti still makes great gear. There isn't anyone else out there with a similar ecosystem. There are some closer ones, but nothing quite like they do. Do you still buy Ubiquiti, or is this such a big deal that I would wait? Now for me, I would wait. If you haven't got any Ubiquiti gear and you haven't bought into it at all, I would wait or look at finding something else. Even if that short-term solution, that something else is, say, something like, I'm just going to buy a budget Netgear switch, or you go buy a Nighthawk or something like that. Just at least an all-in-one solution until Ubiquiti get their thumbs out of their derrieres. Because the issue here is that if it goes downhill from here and they're still being hushed up about what happened, I can't trust a company that does that, and nor should you. And if you do, it's on you. But I wouldn't, and you probably shouldn't. Then you've bought into this company which is now not telling you about an obvious security issue. How many more of them are there which they know about but not going to do anything about it? But if in the hindsight they come back and they say, hey, this happened, we're going to do this, and we're making all these procedure changes and individual changes, you can buy into them at a later point in time, given that you haven't already bought into like a really expensive Cisco solution. You've not really lost anything, because they hopefully would have gone through, done audits, and fixed a bunch of their security issues, and then as you join it, you should have a nice secure platform, and hopefully they've done a bit of internal thinking. Now, unfortunately, I think it's going the other direction, where they're not going to tell us whatever happened, and at that point, I am building a new house, and right now, Ubiquiti's not going in it, based on this. So that's how I feel about it. So hopefully these gave you some answers or points about how I would approach this topic. And it's a decision you need to make and what your needs are. Anyway, I hope that answers some questions for you. Please leave some comments down below if I missed anything, or you think I over-exaggerated something. And again, please like and subscribe. It really does make a huge difference. So I really do appreciate everyone that does that. And yeah, I'll keep you in the loop for how I decide what I put in my new house. And I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.